Well, thank you again to all of those of you who have joined. For those of you who are waiting at the door, thank you. Extra special thanks, and really good to see so many of you kicking off this year with us. As Gabby said, for those of you just joining in the last couple of seconds, it's just the two of us today. Arman had an urgent one that he needed to drop off, so we've changed, I guess, a little bit around, and Gabby's got some really interesting things to share with you later on, and I'm going to cover the topic that I had obviously planned, and I've got a reminder that I'm going to chat through as well, just something that we covered last year, but it's popped up a little bit more in the last few days with some of the customers and the partners that I've been chatting to. So just as a quick reminder, and I guess for those of you who've recently registered and joined us, why bits and bolts, and I'm sure Gabby will probably have a little bit more to add as well, but I think for me, the concept of bits and bolts was about giving an informal session that really allows you as our partners to be able to stay up to date, and we know that we are doing regular updates at least once every month, and we're probably not very good at sharing those updates and the new features and functions with you, and so this was an opportunity to be able to share those. And at the same time, obviously, to be able to help you feel a little bit better in terms of the way that potentially you are providing demos or reviews with your customers, and to save you time, tips and tricks in terms of being able to get up and running as quickly as possible, and I guess potentially to be able to make sure that you've configured an environment or a customer's console in a way that makes use of I guess those most handy tools that have been added in the more recent future as part of what we offer. So yeah, I really hope for those of you joining obviously for the first time that this will continue to be something that you manage to join. We obviously do it every second week, and we pick and we'd love, and I think Gabby's going to cover it a little bit later, we'd love some feedback as well. We're obviously covering the things that we believe are best for our partners in our specific regions. But if there's anything that we haven't touched on, or anything that perhaps you think is a good idea to share, please feel free to add that at any point in time. You can obviously message us directly or via the emails. Before I hop over, Gabby, anything else that I guess bits and bolts meant for you? Is that it? Okay, good.
Perfect.
Good. Cool, super. So obviously I'm Stuart. For those of you who are joining for the first time, I look after the African territory, and I'm normally joined by Oman, and Gabby didn't let us put a picture of her, but she's there in the background and pulling all the strings and making sure that everything works while Oman and I or one of our other colleagues is normally talking to you. And Oman looks after the DACH territory, and obviously we'll be back in the next 2 weeks when we cover the next session. So thank you again for joining us, and there are some contact details for the two of us if you ever need to reach out on the slide. So please feel free to use those if there's anything you need to use them for. So very quickly on today's topics, I'm going to cover some changes that we've made, and for those of you who've perhaps had an error or a failed job deployment over the sort of Christmas period and into the new year, you may have noticed that some of the text and some of the details that we share is a lot more detail, and I'm going to go through that with you. And I was saying to Gabby a few minutes before most of you joined that it was quite hard to get a job to fail. I thought it was going to be so much easier. I had to play around a little bit, and there's obviously a number of them. I think 40 or 50 new text values that we're sharing that gives you more detail around how to resolve an error on a job that was deployed. And I'm going to simulate one of those. I've blocked some file storage on my test device, and I'll take you through that, and you'll see that we in this particular area we actually give you the steps on how we suggest going about making changes on the device, and then obviously being able to correct before your redeployment that would take place. And then just a quick reminder, and as I said in the beginning, it was something that popped up quite regularly in the last few days, and I thought it was a good one just to touch on, and I won't spend more than a couple of seconds on it as I'm in the console. And then, as we said a little bit earlier, Gabby's going to chat a little bit about the beyond MDM side of things, and a touch on where we're going in terms of the marketing and some of the other things that she's got to share. So let me hop into my console. I think, as I said, for those of you who've traditionally had perhaps jobs, if I can use that as an example, that have failed, often the messages that we shared, if you went to the actual job status, were detailed, but didn't provide information about the suggested way of solving what potentially had gone wrong on the device. So as I said, I went through a couple of them and couldn't get it to fail. So I had to pick one of the storage options. But just to give you an idea, I've purposely gone onto this device that I'm using, and you'll see, just to give you an idea, if you have a look, I've blocked permission to storage, and obviously linked to that, I've blocked permission to be able to connect to the files that are available on the device. And so in doing that, you know, as a quick check, if I was to open a remote support session on this device, you'll see we obviously are able to still see the screen, but the file and the directory structure that would have normally been running down the right-hand side is no longer there and no longer available. And the purpose, or the reason why I blocked that specifically, was because the job that I wanted to show you was going to be transferring it's a simple text file just that I created, in the process of being able to initiate that error. Many of the errors that we have need quite a long sort of retry period. So for example, one of the ones that's been improved is related to being unable to download the file, or the target file that was identified for an installation of an app, for example. But we'll retry that 5 times. So in a scenario like this on the webinar, it's not really practical for us to wait for those retries to happen to be able to show you the error. So let me force this one. I'm going to show you. Obviously, I have this device online. I'm going to go and apply a job that I had created, and let me just touch on that one quickly so that you can see. It's, as I said, a very simple file transfer. I created I think I called it sample text file, and I've pointed it just at the root folder, the SD card on the device, in order to be able to transfer that file and get it to fail. So back to my console, let me quickly apply this on this device, and then we will within a few seconds see that I'm going to get the little red dot within the job status indicator, and that's going to give me that visual indication that my job to the device has failed. So let's give this a second or two. I'm going to just quickly refresh so that we can get that running through. Perfect. And you'll see I'm seeing it in the actual system log at the moment, but you'll see my job, the sample text, deployed with an error on this particular device. Okay, and I'm going to go and click. I find it easiest to just click on the actual red dot, the error itself. And once this opens, normally we would have seen obviously the text related to the job, the fact that it was deployed at a particular time, and the fact that you have an error. And this status message is what I'm talking about, and I'm going to hover over it for now. Previously, you would have seen something along the lines of the top 3. So the job deployed with an error, we were not able, maybe the job was pending but wasn't able to be deployed. And you'll see now at the bottom of what we're displaying over here, you'll see now that we give more details. The download failed because the storage access is denied. Okay, the operation related to obviously the storage, particularly, and we mentioned here on Android 11 Plus devices, would require the all file access permission to be enabled. And we also give you the extra text related to Android 10. So this would be the storage access permission. And so I hope you can see that this type of text, or this type of error or redirection, would be really helpful for somebody who's perhaps less familiar with the console and didn't realize that perhaps that permission was needed in order to be able to make that change. Okay, so again, clear directions as to where I need to go and what I need to do, and obviously the minute I go and enable that again, and if I was to go, I'm going to quickly hop into my sorry, just as a matter of interest, you will see obviously because of the fact that I have removed the file access on the device, we are initiating the prompt that is asking you to go and enable it. And a couple of the messages, and not in this one particularly, but a couple of the messages will say to you that we have triggered a pop-up on the device which will need to be granted in order to complete this particular function, whatever that might be. So in this case, I'm obviously going to accept this permission. You'll see I can grant it in the normal way that you would be familiar with on the SureMDM console. And if I was to refresh, obviously I'm now going to be able to see the file storage down the right-hand side in the remote support session. But at the same time, if I was to reapply that job on the device, I'm obviously going to get the fact that it's going to work again. So I can highlight it. I can go to the retry option, and all going well, I should be able to see the fact that the file is transferred to the device, and I'm now no longer sitting with any failed messages, no longer any failed jobs, and I have within my completed options the fact that the job has completed. So I think it would be a good idea for those of you who perhaps have jobs that are failing to go and have a look in that. And again, you may, some of you perhaps might glance over that because perhaps it didn't normally give you a full detailed description of the reason why it was not working. So a suggestion to go and have a look. At least in those that I've seen, it's really, really helpful and pretty detailed and pretty specific about what you need to do to be able to go and resolve the issue on that particular device that you are trying to deploy the device to, or sorry, the job to. All right. So then very briefly, also just to touch on the two that I said as a reminder, you'll notice I still have them here in my SureMDM environment, SureLock admin access and SureMDM admin access, and I added them through this column additional search function. So I have the option to be able to go and grant those, and if I search for SureLock, the same thing. Many of you, and I'm sure many of your customers, have done deployments and forgotten to either change the SureLock password or forgotten to go and set a password on the SureMDM agent within the SureMDM agent job. And so a very quick glance at this would allow you to see that both in this case, SureLock and SureMDM are running in what we would term unprotected. Basically, the user would be able to exit from that SureMDM or exit from SureLock or potentially open the SureMDM environment without needing a password. It's obviously a suggestion from our side, and I'm pretty sure all of you who've had this experience before would be that it's an absolute must in order to be able to protect SureLock. And at the same time, it's a really good idea to be able to protect the SureMDM environment in terms of the agent settings. And we can do those. And obviously, just a quick recap for those of you who haven't seen it before, in terms of the SureMDM agent settings itself, we have a job dedicated to it, and I can go and configure a password protection on that particular agent, as well as deciding if it's going to be both protecting view and edit or just edit. And if I'm going to set one of these, let me just add a password over here quickly so that we can show you. And if I was to apply this onto my device, let's quickly save this on. We are going to see that the protected status on the SureMDM agent itself is going to refresh and obviously show protected. Using something like the queries that are available, or the ability to be able to sort these columns, as we've covered in some of the previous topics in the search field, I could now very easily go and do a quick query across all of the devices in my environment and confirm which of those are what we would term unprotected, and obviously which of those have been protected. So I'm just quickly refreshing this device now that I've applied the job on it. And what I'm expecting to be able to show you is that under the SureMDM admin password section, that's now going to change to protected. Give me a second. There we go. So do you see on the top right-hand side, I'm now updated. And again, it can be done really easily. I could go and have a quick look at my entire deployment of devices, perhaps under the query. I could search, give me a second, sorry. I could search for my SureMDM agent access. I could say, in this case, I wanted to see all of those where it equals, and the task would be unprotected. And I'm going to filter, and obviously immediately as I filter that, I'm filtered only with one device left, which is still showing unprotected. Really quick and easy way to be able to make sure that your deployment, or at least the users within the deployment environment, have no access to SureMDM in order to be able to disable the agent, or potentially, if I had done the same in SureLock, to be able to exit using the default password that obviously we display when we haven't yet set a password on SureLock. So just a quick reminder that is there, and it's really, really helpful in the majority of the deployments that I've been working with and have seen recently. It's a great way of making sure that all devices have been protected in that way. So good. Any questions, Gabby, that have come through?
Yes, we have a question.
Yeah.
What is the archive button in the failed jobs?
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so it's actually probably a good idea for us to cover this in future, but the archive button, historically, you could actually delete a failed job. So in this case, unfortunately, I don't have any failed jobs, but it's going to be grayed out. But my options when a job has failed previously, and I'm talking a few months ago, I could go and delete that job, or I could retry it in terms of being able to obviously do what I was expecting to do on the device. The archive gives you an option now. It's not an option to delete, but it does remove the job from this list. And so I guess in theory, you are able to eliminate the warning of the fact that the job had failed. Perhaps you want to redo that entire job and not just retry it. So you go and rebuild the environment. By pushing it to archive, what it means is that we're still able to report on the fact that that job failed. As opposed to if you had deleted it, we would no longer be able to show you that this particular job had failed as part of your deployment. So it's really just a slightly different way of going about what we had there in the past. Instead of delete, we're now rather archiving.
And we have another one on MTD.
Yeah.
So obviously we parted from Prodeo. So now we have our native in-house MTD, right? I don't know if there is anything else you can add to it.
Yeah, I think for those of you who were using obviously Prodeo, look, the option to be able to enable Prodeo and configure Prodeo is still available in SureMDM, but you will notice that it's not the only option, and we've made it more now a generic interface that allows you to be able to work in both our own in Prodeo and potentially in many others that might be needed. So yeah, you will see it's obviously based on your licensing model. So our SureMDM MTD environment is available only in our enterprise tier of licensing. But if you are using our enterprise tier licensing, then MTD is there. It's available. It can be configured. I know Oman has touched on it before, but perhaps we can do a refresher on it. You need to be able to set up both in terms of profiles, and also you can schedule the way that those scans are running within the environment. But yeah, if your license allows it, absolutely available to you and configurable within your profiles.
And one last thing, somebody wants to just be sure. So as long as the default password is set, the status is unprotected.
Correct. So as long as you have not set a password. So yes, if it's still using the default password, it will show unprotected. In our opinion, it would be that somebody, because for those of you who are familiar with SureLock, for example, if you were to tap on the screen 5 times or exit from SureLock using one of the other methods, if you haven't set a password, we actually display the default password is 0000. So we are, I guess, helping the user who's trying to leave from SureLock on his device. And so in our opinion, we would consider that to be unprotected.
Okay. Yeah. No more questions.
All good. Super. Okay, perfect. Well, let me stop sharing then, Gabby, and then I think you've got the next couple of slides from there.
All right. Thank you. So let me just share. Okay, so I don't do this very often, yeah? So you'll have to be patient. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Great.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, all good. All good.
Perfect. Okay, so and this is not just going to be about marketing, by the way. So, but in the past 2 or 3 months, we started to talk about beyond MDM. So it's something that I would like to touch in the next few slides. So, and to do this, I want to do a little refresher. So as you can see, is the picture of is an image of our Cosmos portal, where we have plenty of information available with regards to battle cards, which I think are very important for this type of audience. So we have brochures. You have the link that would take you to the academy. It's just a link that'll take you to an academy. You have a way to go to your knowledge base, the community. So you really, I mean, this is my test account. So I made things up. So, but who your account manager is. So it's important to have access. So if you don't have access, you can request it. Just drop us an email, or you can talk to somebody within your organization. Now, if you do a sales and technical role, so you also can register deals as well. So, but what is important actually that I wanted to just quickly show you is actually campaign in a box. So we have quite a lot of campaigns, and where I circled them in green is because we launched them last year. So like we want to provide some messaging and some positioning with regards to certain vertical. And last year we launched something on it. We added some positioning on the education, on transport and logistic, end of life campaigns, because we know that some of our competitors were stopping to do was it on premise or on premise, right? I think so. So that's why we're sort of helping to provide some opening sentences, really, because we don't expect to have a full campaign on MDM, but just to give you some ideas when you have some conversation, and also one very recently launched into the banking and insurance. So But what we've been talking, as I say, about beyond MDM. So I started as a conversation about, it's not just SureMDM. There is other things, other solutions that we can stress and talk about, like Sure Access, which is the Zero Trust Network, or Sure IDP, which is the identity and access management. So and the IoT, the things management as well. So we wanted to just talk about all this, but something that came up, and our CEO, our CEO and CTO are always very, very involved. And what I've been hearing from the market is that actually the MDM alone is just no longer enough. So and that they find that a managed device isn't necessarily a fully secure device. So we're not moving away to secure, manage, and monitor. But what we're saying is that we need to add a layer of security, especially when we are talking to customers that have frontline workers and sharing device. Now, I will share, it's really a short video. We shared this video in our newsletter in Q4, so you should have maybe seen it back in December. Let me just quickly start. It's only a minute and 30 seconds. Okay. Yes. So really, we want the way we want to position this is two ways. So from our IT admin perspective, we want to stress the importance of the security, the cybersecurity, the fact that there is this one platform, so that eliminates the need for additional security tools. And from a commercial perspective, obviously this add value, and also it adds to the cost of a license. So definitely something that you will see a lot more in 2026. I think there is a mailer going out today or tomorrow, and again, it will drive to this campaign in a box. So, and again, we will create a sort of an enablement video, which is about 7 or 8 minutes long. So that actually helps the sales team position what we call this FIAM, frontline identity access and management. Moving on, I just wanted to say where we will be in the next few months. This is not, we might attend other trade shows and we might be on other stands, but we will be obviously at the Zebra kickoff in Spain. So we'll have a team there. If you're a Zebra reseller or anyone goes there, so you can come and say hi there. We will be attending Euroshop, and as you will see, we are not only on the Zebra stand, we'll be on Eurovo and the Citizen stand. We always say we are vendor agnostic, and we are strengthening our relationship with other hardware providers as well. So come and see us if you're going there. We will be in Barcelona, but just there will be some on-site meetings. We will not have a stand, so if somebody's there and want to meet, let us know. Our VP for UK is going to be there as well. Logimat will be on the Zebra stand, potentially another couple. Again, meeting in Paris. We'll have our own stand at GITEX Africa, the RTLS in London, and at the SITS in London as well. So we'll have our own stand. Useful links. Do you want to talk about this, Stuart?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, for sure. I think, and you know, I hope that for many of you who are not part of these, it would be something that you would happily go and have a look at. We really spend quite a bit of time and effort, and I say we, not necessarily me, but many of my colleagues spend a lot of time manning things like, for example, our community page. Many of our product teams spend a lot of time creating knowledge base articles that take you through step-by-step instructions on how to solve a particular problem or a particular challenge that you might experience in the field. So if you're not signed up on either our community or our knowledge base, please go and have a look. There are obviously the links there, and there's links directly from our website. I see almost on a daily basis the benefit of partners of ours who have signed up and are being able to see those extra types of information. The community also gives you access to release notes. So a lot of what we're sharing, a lot of maybe the new and up and coming features and functions that are added in all of our products are included in those release notes that are available within that what we would call sort of password or secure protected community. The Academy, we have added some training for Windows devices now. So there are, I think, 4 or 5 courses, if I remember correctly, for Android, and then some for Windows that have been added. So again, if you don't have access, speak to either Gabby or myself or your account manager. We can easily arrange for you to have that, and it's available to you to be able to make use of, and it's available for all of your staff. It's really, you know, it's our pleasure to let the teams be able to connect and learn more. And I think as time goes on, we'll be refining and adding to those courses. So I don't think that it's something that you should do and never look back at again. It would be something that's going to grow with what we do. And then lastly, obviously, Cosmos Portal, and Gabby's touched on it. If you don't have access, please reach out to either account manager or Gabby or myself, and we'll help you to be able to get access directly to that. Much again, everybody, for joining us, and yeah, hope to see you all more regularly on these 2 weekly or bi-monthly sessions that we have as we run through 2026.